The Philadelphia Eagles have traded for another wide receiver, this time trading for Packers wide receiver Dontavian Wicks for a pick. Are the Eagles positioning themselves to trade away A.J. Brown? Y'all know we going to talk about it, break it all down, but you got to hear the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, NFL fans, and welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here, Bobby, and I'm bringing you the latest around the NFL, this time containing the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. They came to terms on a deal, and according to Adam Schefter, the Green Bay Packers are trading wide receiver Dontavian Wicks to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a 2026 fifth round pick and a 2027 sixth round pick. And that pick that the Eagles are trading away for Dontavian Wicks, that is a pick that they received from Atlanta. And more on that, when you think about it, they got themselves a really solid wide receiver in Dontavian Wicks. This is a guy that has a lot of different things that he can bring to the table for the Philadelphia Eagles. But that's not the biggest thing that I want to talk about, at least right now. The Philadelphia Eagles, we already know that these guys have done and talked about a lot when it comes to wide receiver A.J. Brown. He's been linked to the teams like the New England Patriots and some other teams that potentially called and tried to acquire A.J. Brown. We have heard and seen reports that the asking price is a first round pick and a second round pick. But I have the biggest question right here that I gotta ask. Why are the Philadelphia Eagles trading for so many wide receivers? If we think about it and we look at it, these guys over the offseason up until this point, they have signed Hollywood Brown, they have signed Elijah Moore, and they just traded for Dontavian Wicks, adding on to that locker room. Yes, one could say maybe go get a wide receiver 3, maybe go get a wide receiver 4 with those two signings that they did over the offseason up until this point with Hollywood Brown and Elijah Moore. But now you have another guy who is a really good piece for the Green Bay Packers, and they're bringing him now into their locker room. Keep in mind, A.J. Brown is wide receiver 1. Devontae Smith is 2. Last year, Jahan Dotson was number 3. Dotson leaves and moves on from the Philadelphia Eagles. One would have thought that Hollywood Brown, if you had the intentions of keeping A.J. Brown, Hollywood Brown would have been enough. But then you go out there and add Elijah Moore, and you're still heading into the draft here in just 13 days. So, boom, if you keep A.J. Brown, he's 1, Devontae Smith 2, so on and so forth. Now you're going to get a guy like Dontavian Wicks to be wide receiver 5? I don't think so. I think there is something that's brewing behind the closed doors with the Philadelphia Eagles to try to move A.J. Brown. I believe that they potentially could have somebody on their radar who maybe they've had some discussion with. Maybe they've had talked to some people at the combine just to put out those fillers. We've seen moves from the Buffalo Bills traded for DJ Moore, getting themselves a second round pick. And then the Denver Broncos trading for Jalen Waddle, getting them a first, a third, and a fourth. So you know there is some value that you can get for A.J. Brown. Now, it will be interesting to see how this all pans out. Because if he stays, now you have an awesome wide receiver room. If he goes, you still have a good wide receiver room with Devontae Smith, who came throughout Alabama, and we know that throughout his track record, he could absolutely be a wide receiver one for you. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out, especially if somebody is willing to pay a first and a second, or a first and a third, or whatever it is. You know, it is going to be even more interesting, because if AJ Brown is linked to the Patriots, they just signed Romeo Doubs. But in the eyes of the Patriots, do you feel like Romeo Doubs is good enough? Because in my personal opinion, he's not AJ Brown. A really solid wide receiver, good wide receiver, but he's no AJ Brown. Or could that potentially be somebody else out there who potentially wants to wait it out with Howie Roseman and potentially strike on draft night when the pressure is on? And considering that these guys have traded a number of picks this offseason already, and how they're trying to reshape their roster and maintain some of that cap space after paying a number of guys, including Jalen Hurts a couple years ago, both of you wide receivers in AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, and just re-ing up with one of your defensive linemen this offseason, one has to ask those questions. When it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, are you positioning yourself to move off AJ Brown? It's going to be something that we're going to have to follow and monitor, because we do know if they trade him right now, they will take a higher cap hit than if they were to wait until June, after the June 1st. But it's going to be something that I'm going to have to continue to look at for real, because to be honest with you all, this is too many. It's too many coincidences. It's too many coincidences. And looking at the Eagles in their draft picks for 2026, they have 9 total picks. Well, outside of the pick that they just traded away. So, man, like, what? You could go and draft some wide receivers, unless you feel like you need to re-up on the defensive back room, or re-up and add to your linebacker core, or get reassurance because Jalen Carter is coming up on a contract, or and continue to improve the line, or add on to the tight ends. They can literally go anyway, but they just signed Dallas Goedert to an extension as well. So it's a number of different ways that they can go with this. I'm going to keep monitoring this, because it's too many coincidences of this. You bring in three wide receivers. You just re-up on your tight end. I feel like there could have been some other moves made for the Philadelphia Eagles than to bring in all these wide receivers who are solid wide receivers, at least until this point. So, and Dontavian Wicks, he has years. He's still a relatively young guy, so he still has ways to go and potentially grow. But man, how do you expect to put out Hollywood Brown, Dontavian Wicks, and Elijah Moore out there with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith? It just doesn't make sense. Too many coincidences. So I think there is smoke, and where there is smoke, there is fire. So just make sure you stay locked in, because we're going to be right here breaking it all down for you all on NFL Central, man. Just wanted to bring you guys a quick update that's happening around the NFL that I believe has some significance. And this is what will happen with AJ Brown and who will strike on him. It's going to be interesting to see, man. It's going to be interesting to see. But hey, man, that is it for me today. I appreciate y'all for tuning in into another episode. Before you get up out of here, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. I appreciate y'all. Make sure you always love football. Y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure. Peace.
This has been a presentation